This is the moment the American government stopped pretending to function. If you turn on your television right now and switch to the House floor coverage, you will see the doors of the House chamber locked from the inside, the lights dimmed, and a handwritten sign that reads, "Closed until further notice." At 3:47 in the afternoon on Tuesday, February 4th, 2026, Speaker Mike Johnson physically shut down the United States House of Representatives to prevent a vote that would expose the biggest political scandal of the Trump administration. Johnson, already struggling with a razor-thin majority of just 3 votes, already facing fury from his own members, just got blindsided. 12 Republican representatives who campaigned with Trump have joined every Democrat to force a vote on releasing classified documents that prove the White House knew about Russian interference in an $800 billion defense contract. In this breaking analysis, we are going to take you inside the private meeting where Johnson begged his colleagues not to betray him. We are going to reveal the 12 Republicans who finally said enough is enough. We are going to explain the constitutional crisis Johnson triggered by locking the doors of democracy. And we are going to show you why this act of desperation might cost Republicans Congress for the next 20 years. The speaker thinks he bought himself time. In reality, he just started a countdown to his own destruction. To understand why Johnson ran, you have to understand what he was running from. 4 months ago, a defense contractor called Patriot Systems won an $820 billion contract to build missile defense systems for Eastern European allies, the largest defense deal in American history. The problem was that Patriot Systems was partially owned by a shell company controlled by Russian oligarchs under sanctions since 2022. When reports came out, the White House denied everything. Fake news, they said. Deep state conspiracy. But 3 weeks ago, a Pentagon whistleblower leaked 2,000 pages of internal emails showing the White House knew about the Russian connection. The emails showed National Security Advisor Derek Patterson personally approved the contract despite CIA warnings. They showed Trump himself was briefed and told his team to proceed because the defense industry needs to stay competitive. The Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, and Fox News confirmed the emails were real. The House Intelligence Committee quietly started investigating. On Monday night, someone leaked the executive summary to CNN. The conclusion was devastating. The White House had committed willful blindness to foreign influence in a critical defense contract. The word treason was not used, but the implication was clear. By Tuesday morning, the 12 Republicans had made their decision. Representatives Tom Keller from Pennsylvania, Sarah Vega from Arizona, and Marcus Chen from California. Not never Trump radicals. People who voted with Trump 92% of the time. But they represent swing districts where independent voters decide elections. These 12 walked into Johnson's office at 9:15 and made their demand. They wanted a vote on House Resolution 847, compelling the White House to release every classified document within 48 hours. They had the votes. All 212 Democrats plus the 12 Republicans made 224 votes. They only needed 218. Johnson refused. He told them it would damage national security. Then he made a threat. If they voted for the resolution, Trump would personally campaign against them in their primaries. The RNC would cut off all funding. Tom Keller stood up and said, "Mr. Speaker, I would rather lose my seat doing the right thing than keep it by covering up corruption." Sarah Vega added, "We took an oath to the Constitution, not to Donald Trump." Marcus Chen finished with, "If you will not bring this to a vote, we will force you to." They walked out and went straight to the House floor with the discharge petition ready. A discharge petition is a parliamentary tool that allows a majority to force a vote even if the speaker opposes it. It destroys the speaker's authority. These 12 Republicans did not care anymore. They signed it in front of cameras. The Democrats signed it. Within 30 minutes, 224 signatures sat on a single piece of paper that would change American history. At 2:30 in the afternoon, the House was supposed to begin session. Members filed into the chamber. The discharge petition sat on the clerk's desk. Tom Keller was ready to call for the vote. C-SPAN cameras were rolling. Then at 2:28, Mike Johnson walked in with the House Sergeant at Arms and 6 Capitol Police officers. He looked pale. His hands were shaking. He grabbed the microphone and made an announcement that stunned everyone. Due to a credible security threat from the Department of Homeland Security, I am invoking emergency authority to suspend all legislative activities. The House stands in recess indefinitely. All members evacuate immediately for your own safety. There was no security threat. Homeland Security issued a statement 20 minutes later saying they had provided no such briefing. Johnson had lied to Congress on national television. He manufactured an emergency to avoid a vote. As members stood in shock, the sergeant at arms began escorting people out. Tom Keller refused to leave, shouting, "This is a coup against democracy." Sarah Vega pulled out her phone and started live streaming. Marcus Chen tried to rush to the clerk's desk, but Capitol Police blocked him. Within 8 minutes, the chamber was empty. The doors were locked. Mike Johnson had done what no speaker in American history had ever done. He ended democracy in the House of Representatives to prevent a vote. Why would Johnson destroy his career to protect Trump? At 2:15, 15 minutes before shutting down the House, Johnson received a phone call from Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump himself. According to 2 staffers in the room who spoke to Politico anonymously, the conversation lasted less than 3 minutes. Trump did not negotiate. He gave an order. The staffers heard Trump say, "Mike, if that vote happens, you are done. I will personally make sure you lose your seat. I will endorse whoever runs against you. I will tell everyone you are a traitor. But if you stop that vote, I will make you the most powerful speaker in history. Just stop the vote." Johnson sat in silence for 30 seconds after Trump hung up. Then he stood up and said, "Get me the sergeant at arms." Johnson made a calculation. If the documents were released, they would confirm Russian influence. That would trigger impeachment proceedings. Republicans would have to choose between Trump or national security. Johnson would be the speaker who presided over Trump's downfall. Trump would never forgive him. The MAGA base would turn on him. His career would be over. So Johnson chose to break democracy instead. He chose to lock the doors rather than allow the truth. It was not a constitutional decision. It was a survival decision made by a man who values power more than his oath of office. The moment Johnson locked those doors, he triggered a constitutional crisis with no clear solution. Under Article 1, Section 5 of the Constitution, the House has the power to determine its own rules. But that same section says a majority shall constitute a quorum to do business. Legal scholars are now debating a question never tested in American courts. Can a speaker unilaterally shut down the House to prevent a majority from acting? Within 3 hours, 17 constitutional law professors published a joint letter arguing Johnson violated his oath. The Speaker's authority to recess the House is meant for genuine emergencies, not to obstruct the will of the majority. This is tantamount to a legislative coup. The ACLU announced they were filing a lawsuit demanding a judge order the House to reopen. Tom Keller, Sarah Vega, and the other rebels held a press conference at 6 Cost that evening. Keller said what we witnessed was not leadership, it was cowardice. Mike Johnson is protecting one man at the expense of our entire system. Vega went further. She announced that she and 3 other Republicans were filing a motion to vacate the chair to remove Johnson as Speaker. If Mike Johnson believes he can hold the People's House hostage, he will learn a painful lesson. We will remove him and reopen this chamber. The discharge petition is still on the clerk's desk with 224 signatures. By law, it must be brought to a vote within 7 legislative days. But there are no legislative days if the House is closed. Johnson is betting he can keep the doors locked until the scandal fades. But he cannot stop time forever. If he keeps it closed for more than 3 days, he will be in violation of constitutional law. The markets reacted instantly. The Dow dropped 630 points in the final trading hour. The 10-year Treasury yield spiked to its highest level in 15 years. Bloomberg ran a headline, U.S. legislative branch ceases to function. Markets panic. The euro gained 4% against the dollar. Gold jumped 8%. Investors are fleeing American assets because they no longer believe the U.S. government is stable. This is not just political. It is economic. The government funding deadline is in 11 days. If the House cannot vote, the government shuts down by default. Social Security checks stop. Military salaries get delayed. Federal employees get furloughed. America defaults on its obligations. Foreign governments are watching. China released a statement saying, "The chaos in Washington proves American democracy is a failed experiment." Russia posted, "We are watching the collapse of the American empire in real time." The British Foreign Secretary called the State Department asking if the government was still functioning. Japan's Prime Minister held an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss what happens if America can no longer be trusted. Johnson thought he was protecting Trump. Instead, he showed the world that the United States government can be shut down by one phone call from a golf resort in Florida. The revolt is spreading beyond Washington. Republican governors are panicking. Governor Brian Hartley of Ohio and Governor Melissa Stone of North Carolina held a joint press conference this morning. What Speaker Johnson has done is indefensible. The House must reopen immediately. The American people deserve answers about the Patriot Systems contract. Stone added, "I am a Republican, but I am an American first. If our party covers up corruption to protect one man, we do not deserve to win elections." These are not moderates. These are conservatives who supported Trump for years, but they represent states tired of chaos. The rebellion is also inside the House Republican caucus. Vega has 18 Republicans willing to vote to remove Johnson. Combined with all 212 Democrats, that gives them 230 votes. They only need 218, but they cannot vote if the House is not in session. Johnson knows this. That is why he is keeping the doors locked. As long as the House is closed, he stays Speaker. It is a hostage situation. Johnson is holding the entire legislative branch hostage to protect his job and Trump's reputation. But he cannot hold out forever. At some point, the courts will force the House to reopen. At some point, his security justification will collapse. At some point, even his most loyal supporters will realize he has gone too far. The image that will define this moment is those locked doors. The doors of the United States House of Representatives locked from the inside by a speaker terrified of the truth. Those doors represent everything broken about American politics. They represent a party that values loyalty over integrity. They represent leaders who care more about power than principle. They represent a system where one person can shut down democracy because he is afraid of losing an election. Mike Johnson thought he was being strong. He thought he was protecting his party. In reality, he just showed the American people exactly who he is. He is not a leader. He is a coward. He is not defending the Constitution. He is destroying it. When historians write about this moment, they will not write about a speaker who made a tough decision. They will write about a speaker who chose party over country. They will write about the day American democracy was locked in a room and left to die. We are live streaming from outside the House chamber all week. Tom Keller will be here every day demanding the doors be unlocked. Sarah Vega says she will sleep on the Capitol steps if she has to. The discharge petition is still waiting. The truth is still waiting. And Mike Johnson cannot hide forever. Subscribe and turn on notifications. We will be here the moment those doors open. We will be here when the vote happens. We will be here when Johnson faces the consequences of what he has done. The House is closed, but the story is just beginning.